Hello once again. Sorry I haven't uploaded in quite a while. I've been really busy with a lot of stuff, work being one of them, but a big one is writing. I've been writing a lot. I wanted to do this because, as we all know, Disney announced a sequel to Frozen. Now, there have been lots of theories as to what it's going to be about. There are lots of fans talking about what they want to see in the next Frozen movie. One of them actually started a petition, which a lot of fans got behind, including myself, where they want to give Elsa a girlfriend. Well, this is an idea that I had floating around for a while, because I actually came up with an idea for the Frozen sequel. It was inspired by a few things. I'll put links in the description box below, but I want to read this treatment that I have for you. So here it is. Frozen, Fire and Ice by Jordan Puri. Act 1. Wesselton, a town in Germany, a duchy. The Duke, an arrogant showboating twerp, shouts about a thief and a monster. The guards chase two people through the streets. These two people are Helena and Frank. Their crime? They stole a pie. A pie! Helena is good on her feet, but Frank isn't. Helena tells him to keep up. Upon seeing the guards catching up to them, she throws a fireball on the ground, disorienting the guards. The smoke clears, and the guards can't see the fugitives. They continue running straight down the street. Helena and Frank hide in a house. Frank is winded. Helena helps him calm down. Afterwards, she warms up the pie and slices it up. Once it's finished, she and Frank grow tired and fall to sleep. Helena has a dream that is actually a flashback. It involves her being a child. She's picked on by a bunch of kids for being the way she is. She becomes so upset that she gets engulfed in flames. Everything around her catches on fire. Helena wakes up, and the entire house is on fire. But it doesn't stop there. The fire spreads throughout the entire neighborhood. Everyone screams and runs. The guards see them. Helena and Frank run in response. Helena and Frank reach the harbor and steal a small boat. They board it, and Helena uses flame to give them a boost across the water. They move too fast for the guards to catch them, so they let them go with the intention of getting them later. Helena and Frank row. Frank asks where they're going. Helena lists the other side of the world, where it's warmer, where no one knows them. Frank tells her having people is nice. They keep rowing. It takes a while, but they finally reach land. And wouldn't you know it, it's Arendelle. Now not the place Helena wanted, but they are all out of provisions. So Helena decides they'll get what they need and then get out of Arendelle. Act 2. Helena and Frank move through Arendelle, where they're greeted by hundreds of people. Obviously, this is a new experience for them. Usually people see them and shout for the guards. But it's brand new. Frank likes it, but Helena doesn't. This is the realm of the Queen of Arendelle. The Duke of Wesselton warned them about her. Beware her wrath. She'll turn you into an ice statue like she did her sister. Frank looks around and says the people don't seem to live that way. Helena thinks it could be a spell they're all under. Just then, they run into Olaf, the talking snowman. He says they seem new. Frank tells them they just arrived for the first time. Helena tries to shush him. Olaf, however, is delighted to hear this. He introduces himself by name and the fact that he likes warm hugs. Helena says she gives them a lot. Olaf takes them to meet the Queen, much to Helena's dislike. But to the castle they go, where they meet Elsa and a pregnant Anna, Queen and Princess respectively. They get into their introductions, and it becomes clear to Anna and Frank that based on their interactions, there is a connection between Helena and Elsa. Their banter back and forth is perfect. She warns Elsa that she's a bit of a literal hothead. Elsa is impressed, but doesn't show it. She invites Helena and Frank to stay in the castle, which Frank immediately says yes to, much to Helena's dislike. Elsa herself leads them to their rooms, and leaves them to make themselves at home. Helena tells Frank they're not staying here. Frank, however, wants to stay. He doesn't understand why Helena can't just be happy. She reminds him of the story of the Ice Queen. Frank understands her point, but he doesn't see that from Elsa. He introduces the idea that maybe the story is wrong. Frank says goodnight and leaves Helena to make herself at home. But Helena just stands there. But not for long. She goes to her room and lies down in bed. She goes to sleep. She has a dream. This time it's of her and her parents. It seems like a happier time. There's love, and nothing can break that. But then the robbers come and take it all away. Scared, she becomes fire. Helena wakes up and everything is ablaze. She panics. Suddenly Elsa comes and covers the room in ice. She asks Helena if she's all right, but is fascinated by this power. Helena runs out of the room and trips. Elsa helps her back to her room. She places her hand on Helena's head and applies a cooling solution to the heat. She says this will help for now, and tomorrow they'll have a lot to talk about. Elsa leaves Helena and continues down the hall. The next morning, Helena comes downstairs and is greeted by Anna. They get to talking. Anna asks if she's all right after last night. She learned of it because she was awake in the study reading. Helena wonders if she normally spends nights reading. Anna lets her know that ever since getting pregnant, it's been difficult to sleep, but it's worth it. They continue walking. Kristoff, Anna's husband, catches up. They enter the dining room. Elsa is here, waiting. Helena, Kristoff, and Anna enter the room. They all take seats. Frank is here as well. The food is served. Elsa asks if they all slept well. Frank slept great, better than he had in years. Helena says her night did get progressively better, and Elsa is glad to hear that. She then says that she has some business to attend to today. Helena tells her that she and Frank need to leave. Frank protests, but Helena persists. Elsa invites Helena to go with her and to help her on her queenly duties. Helena tries to back out, but Frank thinks it's a good idea. Anna says she'll give Frank a tour of the castle. Elsa and Helena walk through the streets of Arendelle. Elsa is greeted by many grovelers. Helena is a tad uncomfortable, but still rolls along with it. They meet some shopkeepers who introduce themselves to Helena. One of them introduces her son to her, telling her to marry him. Helena says she'll think about it. They continue on. Elsa asks why she's so skittish. Helena tells her it's a long story. Elsa says she has time and wants to know how she got her fire powers. Helena can't remember. She's always had them. Elsa lets her know it's the same with her ice powers, and how neat it is for her to meet someone with powers like this. Helena assures her there's nothing neat about it, but Elsa doesn't believe it. Then they hear a cry for help. Back at the castle, Anna and Kristoff give Frank the dime tour. They converse about personal lives, with Frank revealing they came from Wesselton. He shuts up, thinking he shouldn't have done that. Anna and Kristoff tell him that both he and Helena are safe. They think they're a thing, but Frank immediately says they're not. They meaning, Helena and Frank. Anyway. Elsa and Helena enter the home of a father whose daughter is unwell. She's suffering from a fever. Helena and Elsa enter the home. It's obvious they don't have a lot, and the child is very sick. Elsa asks if there's any medicine. The father points to a pot full of liquid sitting over a pit. He says that his family went to get wood, but never came back. Elsa tells Helena to heat it up. Helena places her hands on the side of the pot. Heat emits from her hands. Elsa places her hand on the girl's head, cooling it. Helena asks the father if he can help her with the pot. The father aids her, stirring it. He asks Helena where she got her powers. Helena lets him know that when she finds out, she'll let him know. Elsa talks the girl through all of this. The father inspects the medicine, but it's not ready yet. It needs more heat. Helena provides the heat, warning him not to touch the pot. The father inspects the medicine and says it's ready. They give it to the girl, who calms down. He gives things to Elsa and Helena, who have to leave now. Helena and Elsa chat a bit about what it means to show people that their queen cares about them. It's not something Helena is used to, because where she's from, everybody runs. But Elsa assures her it won't be like that here. They return to the castle to meet Anna, Kristoff, and Frank. Later, Helena and Frank get back together and talk about their days, and it becomes clear that Helena isn't sure what she wants anymore. Frank tells her he told Anna and Kristoff where they're from. Helena berates him, but Frank assures her that they won't get turned over to the guards. Helena is still scared about what could happen to them. She tells him to tell them no more. That night, Helena tries to get some sleep. She hears footsteps outside of her door. They sound like they're passing right by. Helena carefully climbs out of bed and heads for the door. She peeks her head out and sees Elsa walking down the hall, turning a corner. Helena quietly follows her. They reach the study, and Helena stands by as Elsa stands before the threshold. Helena hears the voice of Anna inquiring what is the matter. Elsa quickly enters the study. Helena follows and stands before the entrance. What she sees shocks her. Elsa sitting next to Anna in unexpected helplessness. Anna glides her hand across Elsa's shoulders. Elsa leans her body down and wraps her arms around her sister's body. Her head rests comfortably on Anna's chest. Then after a few seconds, she calms down. Anna reassures Elsa that her heart is still beating and that she's here. Helena leans against the doorway, watching in amazement and sadness. Anna sees her and invites her into the room. Helena joins them, but is still at a distance. Anna tells Helena of Elsa's reoccurring nightmare, turning Anna into ice. Helena tells her the story she was told by the Duke of Weselton. Anna lets her know of the history Arendelle and Weselton have with each other. Helena places a hand on Elsa's shoulder. Elsa doesn't budge, and if she does, it's a kind of budge we'd expect from a person who loves the owner of such a comforting hand. Elsa falls to sleep. Anna asks if Helena can help her get Elsa back to bed. Helena says she can carry her, so she does. Helena carries Elsa back to her bed after learning its location. Once Elsa lies on the mattress, Helena places the blankets over her body. She speaks a bit about how she can tell that Anna cares very deeply for her, and that she shouldn't let what happened get the better of her. She's stronger than this, and she knows it. Helena places her hand on Elsa's head and warms it up a bit. Helena tells her to dream of warmer things, and exits. The next morning, Helena wakes up. She roams the halls. No one is here. This is rather weird. She looks out the window and sees Elsa talking to the Duke of Weselton. She hurries away from the window and runs down the hall. She runs into Frank, who wants to know what's going on. Elsa tells him about the Duke and says they need to get out of Arendelle now. However, they don't know how they're going to get out of here. Helena looks back out the window and sees the Duke subdue Elsa. How he's able to do this, she doesn't know. But she does know that the Duke and his lackeys break into the castle. Helena and Frank hide inside Frank's room. The Duke and his lackeys roam the castle, turning over everything they find in their way. So far, they are unsuccessful. They continue their way upstairs. The Duke says he knows she's here, because where else would she go? What place would accept a monster like her, except for another monster? There's nowhere else for her to run. And the least she can do is make it easy on herself and just come out and face him. No one can protect her, not even the Queen. Going off of that, he talks about how the Queen seemed so adamant about protecting her that it almost seemed romantic if it wasn't comical. Then it occurs to him, it is romantic. By the time this thought reaches his tiny, bigoted brain, the Duke and his guards are right outside of Frank's door. Helena only heard a majority of what the Duke said, including the part about Elsa being in love with her. That definitely makes an impact. Helena stands up and walks slowly to the door. The Duke keeps talking, calling her not only a monster, but a sick, perverted woman. Helena finally speaks up, calling him cruel. The Duke and his guards bolt for the door, but Helena warns him about breaking into the room. Understanding the threat, he orders the guards to stand down. The Duke and Helena start talking, with Helena making a deal with him. If she goes with him willingly, he'll leave Arendelle alone. The Duke tells her that it's a deal. She opens the door, and the guards take both her and Frank. Helena and Frank exit the castle with the Duke and his lackeys, but they come across Elsa, Anna, Kristoff, and Olaf. Helena looks at Elsa and sees what bad shape she's in. Helena tries to break free to go to her, but she's held back. The Duke reminds her of their deal. Helena demands to know what he did to her, but the Duke doesn't answer. So Helena and Frank are taken onto the boat back to Wesselton. Act 3. Helena and Frank are thrown into a prison. They're given only bread and water. But that night the Duke comes down and sits before the cage. He asks how they're doing and then gets down to business. He says that she won't spend the rest of her life in this prison and that she's going to help him out. Helena tells him that she could just burn this prison down. Then she hears a voice telling her she can't. It's fireproof. The voice belongs to Hans. Hans tells her that she's going to be a great asset. He plans on invading Arendelle and taking away everything from Elsa and Anna. Helena wants to know what they did to him, but he won't answer. He just leaves. Helena and Frank stay in the cell all night. Helena stresses over and over again on how she's going to get out. Frank asks her if he can suggest something. When he was younger, his father was a locksmith, so he taught him all the little things about locks. Helena asks him if he knows how to pick locks. He says yes. She lets him perform the work. The door swings open, and they escape. On the deck, Helena throws fireballs at every direction until they reach a boat. The Duke and Hans come on deck and watch as Helena and Frank climb onto a lifeboat and row away. But before the people on the ship can respond, Helena launches a fireball at the side of the ship, blowing a hole big enough to undermine any and all precautions. The ship sinks, leaving the Duke and Hans to float in the water. Helena and Frank make it to Arendelle by way of Helena's fire. They head for the castle. Elsa is still in bad shape. The city is worried. But Helena recognizes the sickness the Duke gave her. She runs into the town and finds the father she helped. They hurry back to the castle, where they prepare the same potion that helped the father's daughter. Helena heats the pot up with her hands, and they get the potion to Elsa. Even though she finishes the potion, she doesn't wake up. Helena looks over at Olaf and says Elsa could use one of his warm hugs. So he hugs her, and that brings Elsa back. There is much rejoicing. Helena and Frank become permanent residents. The town welcomes them with open arms. Helena and Elsa have a walk. They talk about everything, even the parts that are difficult. Helena burning her parents and others, Elsa freezing her sister. They agree to help each other out. After holding hands, they kiss. As they kiss, fire and ice releases from their bodies and swirls around them in perfect symmetry. The end. Alright, so that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like it, please praise it, and if not, please critique it. I'm open to any suggestions, and I will comment as I see them. Until then, catch you later.